Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Triangle BNI. My name is Mike Manning. Each week, we bring you a show about BNI. It's Business Networking International. It's the world's largest networking organization. Our little slice of heaven here in central North Carolina, the Triangle. If you're not familiar with North Carolina, it's Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill. Have about 30 chapters, just over 700 members, and we'd love you to come visit one of our chapters one day. We'll get into that a little bit more. But our guest today is Sean McClafferty. Sean is owner and creative director of Think Designs. Sean, good to see you today. Thanks for being here.
Good morning. Thank you.
Think Designs does graphic design, branding, logos, all kinds of things we'll talk about with your background, many years of being creative and,
Yes, sir.
and all that. So we'll get into that. You opened Think Designs in July 2011.
That's correct.
Sean is a member of RD16, which is Research Triangle Professionals. They meet Friday mornings at 9:15 at North Carolina Wesleyan Aspire.
Correct.
So if you are a morning person looking for something to do on Friday morning, please come on out and visit, get a better understanding of what BNI is. It is a seat-specific organization, so it's dues-paying organization. So the beautiful part of this is in Sean's chapter, he is the only creative person in there, branding, design person in there. So all the members in his chapter are giving all the business to him, helping him grow his business. We'll talk about that a little bit later as well. So every week at a BNI chapter, there's a featured speaker. Depending on the size of your group, it's either 5, 7, 10 minutes long. And each week that speaker is introduced by the BNI member bio sheet. And Sean, that's how we're going to do it today.
Very good.
So your name, Sean McClafferty, business name is Think Designs. Profession is creative, branding, designing.
Correct. Brand identity, brand identity, website, and graphic design.
Okay. Location.
We're actually based out of Strickland and Leesville Road in North Raleigh, Northwest Raleigh.
Right. And my second favorite question here is previous types of jobs. And we'll get into your professional background, but if there's like a really good high school job, you're like, God, I can't believe I did that for.
No, I have to admit, the only thing I've ever done was I was a bagger for a grocery store. And that's about it. And I worked for that company for about 6 years until I graduated from college. So that and a newspaper route. So I was a paper boy.
Okay.
But an interesting story, though, is this shows you my age, that my brother and I used to own a corner in downtown Pittsburgh that we used to do the Sunday newspapers.
Nice.
So we'd stand on the corner, like the New Edition, hold up the newspaper, and we'd run out to the cars and get our 50 cents, and we'd give them the newspaper, and in return, we'll get our change. So that was probably one of my interesting jobs when I was a kid.
Very nice.
8 years old.
Very nice. Now, which job tipped better, the newspaper or the grocery bag?
Oh, the newspaper. The newspaper tipped.
They throw you $1?
Yeah. They throw me a dollar. Yeah. All you had to do is just make sure the paper's in the door, it didn't get wet, and you're good.
Oh.
So, yes.
You thought you were living life. You?
Back then I surely did.
Got cash on hand. Nobody wants it.
Yes.
So the next section on the bio sheet is personal information, your spouse.
My spouse is Sandy McClafferty.
All right. How long have you guys been married?
We've been married we're coming on 8 years now.
And we will get into a story about how you two met later because I'm doing a little digging on you and found a couple of good things to talk about. Children?
No children, just 2 pugs.
All right. That's what everybody always gets to. What were the dogs' names?
Mr. Chang and Frankie.
And why are they Mr. Chang and Frankie?
Well, again, because they're pugs, and pugs are from China.
Okay.
So, and we just picked Mr. Chang and, Frankie. They actually both rescued. So
good for you.
Yeah, we actually rescued both of those pugs.
Good deal. Hobbies and activities of interest.
Well, being that I'm in the creative field, my hobby's probably going to be drawing.
Okay.
You find me many times sitting there with a sketch pen or pad, so to speak, and drawing. And then my other situation would be more about traveling.
Yeah.
Love to travel.
And you guys just got back from Europe. We were talking about that earlier.
Yes.
So had a blast. You've been there before.
Many a times, yes.
And ready to go back again?
We are.
Can you remember the first thing you started drawing way back when or sketching?
Actually, yes. Garfield, Jim Davis.
Mm-hmm.
That was my big thing. When I remember as a kid, I just loved that comic strip.
Yeah.
And I'd sit there and just draw Garfield and Odie all day. I remember that was probably the thing that I drew the most when I was a kid.
Garfield was ahead of his time.
It was.
City of residence and how long you been here?
I've lived in Raleigh since 1997. So yeah, it's Raleigh, city of residence.
So what got you down here?
I used to work for another company called Thrift Drug. And at Thrift Drug, got purchased by a company called Eckerd, based out of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And when they purchased this long string of drugstores, they could not own, they'd have a monopoly in North and South Carolina. So someone had to privately buy them. So one of the executives from Thrift Drug went out and he purchased 167 stores.
Nope.
And he actually asked all of us to relocate down here to North Carolina, and I got lucky to be asked to come down and start the marketing department at
Okay.
Car Drug. We kept the old name. When we owned Car Drug back in the early 90s, Thrift Drug owned Car Drug. So when that whole thing went down, that whole transition between the drugstores, we actually relaunched and rebranded Car Drug.
Okay.
So yes, that's what got me down here.
So when you first moved down here, did you laugh at us Southerners on how we handle snow and what we consider snowstorms?
Yes, it was interesting, but in the same breath, when you only have 2 snow plows, what are you gonna do? I mean, you have 2 snow plows, so
And 100 pounds of brine.
that's
Put on
correct,
your
yeah.
sta-
You just hunker down and you just wait for a day and it's gonna melt away,
That is correct.
you know?
It is funny, but we
Yeah,
are who we are down here. So
yeah.
yeah.
But I enjoy it. I really do enjoy the fact that because of the snow days, you're
Yeah.
off for one day, and then the next day you
Yeah. But
Yeah.
schools are out for 4, but that's
That's true,
another
yes,
story.
yes.
Your burning desire is to
Well, I guess my burning desire would be to, draw an illustration, a children's illustration book.
Oh,
That would
nice.
be probably my biggest one that I like to do is have that opportunity to sit there and literally find someone who can write a children's book, and I'd sit there and I'd illustrate it for them.
Okay.
That would
Do
be
you doodle at home on weekends, just kinda like a songwriter? "Hey, let me just put a couple
Yep.
things down," and
Napkins, pieces of paper, yes.
your wife could tell when you're bored. You
Correct.
start doodling.
Yes. Yes. She
"Honey,
does.
put the pen down."
That's correct.
Your key to success.
I'm a big believer when it comes to key to success would be, I wanna wow them. When I provide something, a design, I wanna make sure that I wanna knock your socks off. I really wanna push it to the complete utter edge and make sure that you're happy. I mean, at the end of the day, that would be the big thing is just to wow them with my design.
And my favorite question out of all this, and a lot of new people who have not met you yet, but they will because I know they'll call Think Designs and get you guys to do stuff for them. Something no one knows about you.
Something no one knows about me. Well, again, maybe my old high school friends might know this, but again, I'll go back to the whole creative experience in drawing. I used to sit there at bazaars and festivals, and I used to do caricatures. I used to sit down
Oh,
and
nice.
draw the caricatures of individuals. And not many people in Raleigh know that because it's been a long time since I've did caricatures at a festival. But that's probably that's a fun little thing I used to do.
Did you save any?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
and I still to this day. That's when you'll catch me doodling.
Okay.
When I'm in a meeting, I'm sitting there, and someone looks over. They're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, see this funny picture? And they're like, "Oh, that's such and such."
Yeah.
It's like, "It's Mike." Yeah, it's Mike. So
Yeah.
I still do that, but I don't pay for it. It's more of a fun thing.
Did you ever do caricatures of family members?
Yes,
Wrap
family
them up for
members.
Christmas?
Yes, I did that. Friends, coworkers. Yeah, I've done many of them.
How do those go over?
Great. I mean, because
Okay.
again, anybody who gets a handmade gift, it's always appreciative. So yes.
Nice. Okay, so here we are, middle of October,
Yep.
2018. Kind of tell us where Think Designs is and what you guys, some things you're working on and all kinds of stuff.
Well, Think Designs is actually doing very well. We're producing a lot. We're actually working on 2 brand identities right now. One of them, we're actually rebranding a company that I got a lead from BNI. The second thing is, it's exciting that we're working on a new Holly Springs Chamber of Commerce website. So that's kind of fun to get involved with the Holly Springs Chamber. And what I like more than anything is seeing the results of it when, because of the Holly Springs being a good networking group, I'm
Mhm.
starting to get more and more leads out of it.
Oh,
And
good.
that was a lead from BNI nonetheless. So
Very nice.
yes.
Do you find when a first-time client comes to you, do they have an idea of what they want, or are they going, "Sean, we just have to change it. We don't know what we need, but that's why we're coming to you. You are highly recommended."
90% of the time, they have no clue. They have not a clue
But that's good for
whatsoever.
you.
That's great for me
Yeah.
because it's open canvas.
Mhm.
It's like, well, let's talk about your brand. Let's talk about your individual. Let's talk about your end user who buys your product or your services. So we try to get a feel for that. And at the end of the day, then we'll develop a brand or a website or anything of that nature, brochure, something.
A lot of businesses, depending on the industry they're in, they've been around long enough, they'll develop a niche market. Have you guys gotten to that point yet, or do you kind of work with 100 different types of people in business?
I hate to say that not that I hate to say it, but yes, we actually have multiple
Okay.
people that we work with. And again, that's what makes it fun. One day it's insurance. The next day it's a chamber. The next day it might be some sort of engineering company. So it changes. And I get to learn a lot about different businesses.
And also outside the Triangle area?
Yes,
Okay.
actually I have 2 clients, one in Belgium and one in South Africa.
And how'd they find you?
Uh, through BNI. BNI, it's actually a referral from BNI, and they have offices in South America, both Belgium.
Have you gone to visit them to have a a real
No,
business meeting.
that would be nice, but that's what Skype is for, and you can have those online video meetings. I wish that was the case, but, no. But you have to work in their time zone. They're
Yes.
pretty much closing shop at 10, 11 o'clock.
Oh gosh,
So you
that's
have
right.
to you
Okay.
have to you have to be there for
And
them.
and then don't wake them up at 3 in the morning either when you think,
Exactly.
"Oh, I got a great idea.
Correct.
let me" if you can see on the screen right now, this is the best way to get in touch with us at, Triangle BNI. You can go to trianglebni.com. You can give us a call on the phone number there, 919-465-1667. Talk to Steve or Mary or Brenda in the office. They'll be more than happy to help you. Or if you'll shoot an email to us if you want some more information, in BNI at nissancommunications.com. If you have any questions, want to know more about, hey, where to go visit, if you or somebody you know is starting a small business, wanting to grow a small business, we'd love for you to come out, just visit a chapter, see what it's like. The structure is wonderful, the people are wonderful, and it will help you grow the business. In BNI, in the meetings each week, we're giving referrals to the people in our chapter. You get to know them. You like, know, and trust them. That's one of the mantras of BNI. But then you give a referral. Sean, this guy told me he's having trouble with XYZ. And I said, just call Sean. It's here. So here's his name and number. I've already told him you're calling. And that's how that works. That's how referrals are passed. Everybody in Sean's chapter gets to know him. They know somebody has either a website issue, a branding issue. They may need a logo. It was on your site the other day, and this was from a couple years ago. You guys had done your 107th logo design.
Correct.
Very
Yes.
impressive.
Yes.
So all kinds of things like that, but they know Sean does all that because each week, each member will stand up 30-second, 45-second, we call them elevator pitches. And you stand up and say, hey, here's what I do. Here's who I'm looking for. So when you're standing up, when it's your turn to stand up and tell everybody what you're looking for, how do you educate them on what to listen for?
Regarding
Yeah,
regarding
your
Think
thing
Designs?
designs. Yeah.
Absolutely. So one of the things that is that we're affordable and we're professional. I mean, too many times out there in our industry, I find it that a web designer or graphic designers lost files or misplaced items. So again, I really try to focus on that because again, you would be surprised how many times individuals say, I don't know who my web designer is or even my hosting provider is. So I try to help companies out like that. So that would be one aspect. And the other aspect is that we're creative. I mean, I really try to push the envelope to find out what we can do creativity when it comes to brochures or anything of that nature, business cards. So those items out there, I try to really let's just do something unique and different. Why go with the same old 3.5 by 2 inch business card? Let's go 4 inch by 4 inch because it's a talking piece. It engages the conversation.
And I would imagine you get people approaching you with all kinds of ranges on the budget they have to do what
Correct.
they want to get done.
Yes.
And that's where your financial creativity comes into play,
That's
right?
correct, and that's actually the first question I ask is, what is your budget
Yeah.
here? I mean, if you have a lot of money, you can do some weird, unique die cuts, I have a solution, but some situations, you wanna keep it low, and we can do that as well.
So when you do get a client coming to you, said, "Hey, here's what I want," or, "I want to talk to you because here's what we're thinking about doing." So you set up a meeting. Who from Think Designs, how do you guys sit around with that new client the first time?
The first time I really wanna understand and know your business, especially if you don't have a website. I wanna get the feel for your business and what the services you offer. Because too many times, you might not even know it as a business owner or your direction that you wanna go. So I
Mhm.
sit down with you and I try to really hammer out what your business is, your strategy, your structure. I mean, I'm working on a brand identity right now, and it's a brand new product being launched. So he didn't have a name, and then he wanted to understand what should the LLC should be. So again, I just try to help them out. And I also use my sources at BNI.
Mm.
If you need a business attorney, I have that solution to create that trademark for your new business. So again, it's all about trying to just educate the customer and also the process, of course. You know, I think designs, the one thing we do offer is unlimited concepts and designs.
Oh,
So I try to sit there and I explain to them that, we'll have unlimited concepts and designs, but after probably the sixth one, we're hammering it out at that point, and we're just messing with color. But again, it's what we do.
mm. And that's the beauty of the BNI chapter is you are the hero to your clients
Correct.
because you say, I got somebody
That's
that can
correct.
handle that for you. Like I said, you've mentioned already a CPA, an attorney, insurance. We have all kinds of resources at our disposal because people these days are like, it's one stop shop. Just call Sean. He knows
Yes.
he'll find somebody for you.
Yes.
And that's one of the things I love about being in BNI.
Yes.
So you are currently president of your chapter. You have
Correct.
held every seat on the leadership team.
True.
President, vice president, secretary, treasurer, membership, visitor, host. I know I'm missing something.
I didn't. I'm sorry. I never did event coordinator.
Event coordinator. Okay, all
Yes,
right.
I never did event
You do
coordinator.
enough events,
Yes.
so you're probably schooled in that. You'll be
Yes.
okay. When was the very first time you ever heard BNI?
From my cleaner, Aaron from Noose River Cleaning or Noose Cleaning. I'm sorry, Noose Cleaning. He actually approached me, and I told him about my business, and he said you should try this BNI chapter or BNI in general. And I remember going online and looking for the closest BNI chapter, which is out of Wake Forest. They meet Fridays, and I actually went to go visit them, and it was a very interesting meeting that I've never attended such a structured, organized meeting. But that was my first introduction was from my cleaning guy who belonged to a BNI group.
Did you have any preconceived notions going into the meeting?
No, I didn't. I guess for me, the one thing I should have known, and I try to tell anybody who visits our group, is just make sure you have a 30-second presentation in hand because I wasn't prepared for that. I didn't have my 30 seconds. So, I'm trying to think of something very quickly as they were going around with their 30-second presentation. So,
and a couple of business cards.
And yeah, a couple of business cards. I had the business cards,
Okay.
but I didn't have the 30-second presentation.
So now you leave the meeting, and how many things did you jot down, and what was your mind like walking out of that meeting? Like, oh, I could do this or maybe this.
Well, the one thing that really impressed me was the referrals, the passing of the referrals. That was probably the eye opener for me. Just that these individuals are passing these slips around and they're referrals. And again, I remember just looking at that. And one time I visited BNI Group, and it was another graphic designer very similar to me. She was getting referral after referral. And I thought, wow, what a neat concept just to get these referrals. So the one thing I took away from it was just the amount of referrals being passed, even between each members. That was interesting to me.
Next week, our guest is Steve Hand, who's the executive director for Triangle BNI, and he will tell people over and over again that BNI is the cure for the common cold call because we just don't want a cold call.
No.
We have to start out.
Yes.
But you get some point in the maturity in your business, and I don't want a cold call. I'd rather go into a room with 20 people who really like me and know me and get a couple of referrals that way. So you went to visit the Wake Forest chapter.
Correct.
What was the next step? What'd you do? Did you go visit other chapters?
I did. I visited the Thursday one as well.
Mhm.
So that was the one that I said earlier about the graphic designer
Yes.
just handing referral after referral. And then after that, I just contemplated the cost, of course. I mean, starting off a new business, you got to consider every aspect. But I assure you, probably within the next 2 weeks, I joined the Wake Forest one.
And for those of you, if you're not in BNI, to join initially, it's a $150 application fee, and an annual membership for everybody in BNI is $445 a year. How long did it take you to make that money back?
Within less than 30 days. For me, less than 30 days. I mean, I made it very quickly.
What was it about that chapter that drew you, other than the location that drew you there?
It was a location more than anything. I have to admit, and I did get some great leads out of that chapter, but it was location more than anything.
Yeah.
And the time was perfect too. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, mornings. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
7:30.
Upstairs, Wake Forest
Yes.
Coffee Company.
Yes.
Oh, good stuff there. Good folks. So who turned out to be, were you surprised at some of the people that started giving you referrals?
Yeah, because at first, one of the things about BNI was who's going to be your greatest referral. And shockingly enough, the biggest one, instead of this day, is Jim Wallace. He was our financial advisor. He has given me a massive amount of referrals.
Really?
Yes, the financial advisor. The financial advisor was the biggest one, and it was one after another because he just knew a lot of individuals. So it was to this day, and that was 6 years ago. I'm still getting referrals from him.
Do you remember the first referral you got in BNI?
Let's see here. The first referral I got from BNI might have been a brochure design for Wren Home Improvement.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, that was my first one.
And you spent great time getting that one done right because you want everybody in your chapter to know, well, I gave this to him and look at this.
That's correct.
How many people were with the company at that point in time when you first joined BNI? With Think Designs?
With it, one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then how quickly did it grow?
Well, as of right now, I'm up to about 3.
Okay.
3 individuals.
All right. And that's a good size.
It is.
Makes you guys flexible.
It does.
Okay. So now, how long were you in the Wake Forest chapter?
I was in it for probably about 2 years. I was in the Wake Forest chapter.
All right. And you have since moved?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
What got you to the new chapter you're in?
Well, any individual who visits our group, I actually try to sit down with them and ask them, what your business is and who that individual or that business or that group going to be the right fit for your product or services you're offering. For example, the Wake Forest one was great. But it was B2C, a lot of B2C. So again, if you're a painter, pressure washer, carpet cleaner, handyman. That was a perfect group for that group. Being more, I was graphic and web design. I was trying to focus more to B2B. That's what kind of landed me to the RD16 Research Triangle Professionals, because they had that attorney, that business attorney. They have IT, so they have a lot more members that are more focused to B2B, and that's what brought me to that one. So again, I started learning about the BNI, how the BNI works, and that's again just doing some research on BNI Connect Triangle
Mhm.
and doing my research, my due diligence. I landed to this group.
And a lot of times we talk about with the BNI chapter, with the meeting itself, the structure of it,
Yeah.
because you have to be. I mean,
Right.
everybody's got, because you just, I got calls to make. I got to go visit this client. I've got to do that. And you want to know that at 9:30 or actually at, I guess what, 10:30, you guys are done?
Correct.
Yeah.
10:30.
So, you're out and about.
Yes.
So what did you like about that structure
The
of the
BNI
BNI
structure.
meeting? Yeah.
Because again, I'm really big about structure. If you consistently do something over and over again, you're going to yield results at the end of the day. You truly are. Um, and BNI overall, you have an agenda and you
Mhm.
stick to that agenda and you don't deviate from it at all. And my goal as president is to make sure we follow that agenda. And at the end of the day, that I get everybody out at 10:30, because everybody has to make phone calls, everybody has to make
Mhm.
money. So again, it was all about the organization.
And when you first started doing your 5 or 10-minute presentations, how did you approach that? What message did you want to get out to everybody knowing you had a little bit more time to do that?
Well, at the Wake Forest one, we did have 10 minutes.
Mm,
So more than anything, it's all visual for me. I try to show
no.
them, here's examples of brochures, here's some examples of some pull-up banners, car wraps, websites, logos. So again, more than anything, it's all about visual. And to this day, I still do the visual presentation. And try to explain to them, this is what my client gives me. It might be a Word doc with some type. And I got to make something interesting, unique, and something that someone might pick up when they're at some sort of event. So
2011, you start Think
correct.
Designs. Okay, here we are, latter part of 2018, and the world with technology has changed. There
Correct.
was little to no social media in 2011. It was kinda getting started,
Yeah.
right? So how do you talked earlier about, "Hey, I could do you a 3 by 2." Back in the olden days,
Correct.
it's a flyer.
Yep.
Everybody you gotta hand out 1,000 flyers. In this day and age, everybody, I need it on my phone, I need it on my Apple Watch, or
That's
however they're
correct.
gonna get it. So, how do you incorporate the changes in technology with getting your clients' messages out?
Well, when I sit there and I have that like a kickoff event with an individual and I ask them, about your product or your services, what is the best way to communicate to you? I mean, who's reaching out to you? Is it going to be, or will it be like individuals finding you online? But at the end of the day, what I always tell everybody is the fact that you got to have both an online and offline presence. So to answer your question, I do a business card, I do a flyer. Do you have a website to
Yeah.
associate to that? Do you have something that you can guide that customer from that business card to your website? And this is where I sit down and I actually ask them about their strategy and what their plans are, including a car wrap. I mean, at the car wrap, we have a website, we have a
Mhm.
URL. So again, because of the technology, it allowed me the capability to introduce more products and services. I mean, even when you do a logo design,
Yeah.
we got to put the signature on your email. Are you doing that? That's all about branding.
Mm.
So you got to consider all those aspects.
In a previous life, one of the things I was involved with was just making sure messages were out there, and we had to do billboards.
Yep.
And we had this creative team come in one day, and this billboard, while on a laptop monitor, oh, beautiful, cursive and colors and all that stuff. But man, you put that on a billboard, you're done. You can't, you hate to tell a client, big block, black and white letters, but you got what, 4 seconds?
You do.
Yeah.
Literally. And again, it's all about speaking to your audience.
Yeah.
In some aspects, some people might have a brochure and they can sit down and read it. In other situations, like a billboard,
No.
I have 4 seconds. And
Yeah.
you have to take that in consideration when designing any element. You have to take that in consideration.
My other favorite thing is the, door magnet. The
Yep,
the only time you can read it is at the red light if you're right next to
it's
the
true.
car
It's true.
because, the font's what,
Yep,
12 point, it's cursive, like, my eyes can't
yep.
see that from here, so
It's amazing about fonts.
the car, yeah, because some people car wrap you, "Oh, I have a door magnet."
Yeah.
No, that's not quite right. So what is the role of the website with all the tentacles going out with it in the plans you try to do for your clients?
Well, again, I believe both with website design, you have about maybe what, 8 10 seconds. I mean, I have to engage you pretty quickly or capture your attention on a website. And if I don't, you're going to lose interest. You're going to click somewhere else. So I try to get right to the point, be direct. And then at that point, if you want to start drilling down into learning more about the services that we offer, you can. But at the end of the day, I want to get right to it and say, here's what the business is. Here's the services we offer. You want to learn more? Click this button. So that would be the tentacle. And then at that point, we go to a secondary page where that information is housed, that you can kind of read a little bit more about that, about their products and services.
And are the clients coming to you today understanding the value of a easily functioning website or just a website in general?
They are, but the thing about it is what most people don't realize is that website has to fit on a desktop, on a TV, and then you throw the mobile phone in there. So it has to be simple. It has to be readable at a small device like that. Keep in mind that my canvas now is what, 5.5 inches by 2 on a phone. So I have to be somewhat creative about that message and how it's going to be displayed, and keeping the message precise, not filling it up with a bunch of words.
You don't want 82 bullet points from
correct. Yes, that's what the learn more is.
Yeah, but the phone changed everything. When people started getting things on their phone, the mobile site, everybody, you kind of had to redo the website to a point, because nothing worse than having to scroll for 2 minutes to the bottom and I'm on to another site. I need another cleaner. I need another whatever. Yeah.
I call it the pinch effect. If I have to sit there with my phone and pinch and pinch and pinch and then try to find the phone number, I've lost interest.
Yeah. How has social media impacted what your clients are doing to get the word out to their customers?
That's a great question. With social media, I always try to tell individuals, listen, try not to do everything in social media. You're a small business owner. You don't need to be on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Focus on one. And wherever that focus is, make sure that it's where your clients are. If you're a B2B, business to business, Facebook might not be your best option. I'd recommend going to LinkedIn, because that's where those business to businesses are.
Yeah.
If you do a service like, say, dog boarding, dog training, dog grooming, Facebook is great. And especially, we don't do social media, but I try to encourage people to, as I just said earlier, is focus on one and focus on it well. And I'm going to go back to my message earlier, be consistent. Don't post something up from 2016 and wonder why nobody's going to your website in 2000 or your Facebook page in 2018. You got to make it engaging.
The age of your clients, does that tell you a lot of what they're prepared to do or know how to do or wanting to do?
Correct. Yes. That is, again, that's that whole kickoff I have with somebody, who your audience will be. Because again, if you're selling something that might be a population of, say, hypothetically 50 and above, you got a different strategy than someone who might be 18 years old. I mean, they might want more Instagram. They might want something of that nature. So you have to always take in consideration who your audience is.
Yeah. And my boys are grown and gone. And it's funny talking with them on different things. Like, I don't know. Well, they'll never have a newspaper delivered to their house. We know that. One of them is disconnected from cable, and we go visit them. He's the one with the grandson, by the way. Love going to see him. The grandson, the son, he still ranks, but the grandson's first in the will. But now it's Sling and Hulu, and we're 2 remotes, and we're, I've kind of figured all that out on doing that. But you're having to deal with people like that, this is how we do it here. This is what I'm comfortable doing.
Correct. And again, it's all about educating. You have to sit down, you have to educate them regarding the new technology. And let's be honest, the technology changes very fast. Right now, I'm trying to educate my customers regarding this little lock up in your URL that Google now says you're not secure. If you're not secure, and people might say, well, I don't want to go to this website because it's not secure. So it's all about just these little things that keep changing, especially Google. So you always have to stay, aware of the situation and the trending changes.
All right. So your background is creative. You've been drawing since Garfield was on the air and everything. Yes. Pittsburgh Tech and Wake Tech are the places you went to school.
Correct.
Again, all creative stuff. But you spent over 17 years with Car Drugs, depending on where you're from, in a number of different capacities on the creative side. So how did that come? How did that first job come about with them?
Well, that's a great story. I got the job there because of a friend up in Pittsburgh. So I went to college with. So once I started a Car Drug, or actually Thrift Drug, I was a layout artist. That's what we called it desktop publishing back then. Now the kids are saying like UI and UE and UX and something, but we called it desktop publishing back then. And we actually went in and we did a circular.
Was this on a Macintosh, by
This
the
is
way?
on a Macintosh with a
Sweet.
program called Cork Express.
And the old people in the room are laughing.
Yes,
so yes,
yes.
we all get the
So,
Macintosh.
but yeah, and that's when I started at Car Drug. I was just a layup artist, a graphic designer, just laid out the circular each week. And then as I progressed, we started hiring individuals, and I started becoming more of a management field. And then I went up to senior creative manager at Car Drug.
But back then it was all print, wasn't it?
Everything was print. And again, in that duration, it was fun to see that transition. Even at Car Drug, we started looking at the website. We started looking at social media. And that's where that whole education came in from the senior level. These guys in their 60s.
No.
And they're like, I don't know Facebook.
Yeah.
But they know one thing, that there's a billion people on it, so they have to be on it as well. So it was about that education that you had to do.
And more importantly, they know their kids and their grandkids are on it.
This is true.
And that's the next wave of customers.
And the thing about it with retail, drug pharmacy retail, is your client is literally from cradle to grave. I mean, you're getting them in diapers, you're getting the plethora. So when you have to do some sort of marketing campaign, it's across the platform.
So the flyers always in the Sunday inserts, right?
Correct. Yes.
Were they mailers as well?
Nope, just flyers in the Sunday insert.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many different ones would you guys do?
We actually had about 24 different ones that we did.
For all around the country?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
At Thrift Drug, because Thrift Drug is based on the East Coast. So we actually did from New York down to Georgia. So we inserted all these circulars in these newspapers. And the interesting thing about it was that you had to work like 3 months behind the actual release date. So can you imagine doing photo shoots with Christmas trees in August? So we're sitting up there with Christmas trees, and we're really getting into the Christmas mood, and it's August outside. So that was kind of fun about working at Car Drug with the circular.
Which is funny because 3 months from today, there'll be 25 new apps that will have been invented.
Yes.
People will be on those.
So that's the change.
So what got you to the point where you were ready to hang out your own shingle?
Well, I was I'm going to say I was pushed off the cliff, because Car Drug got purchased by Walgreens back in 2004. So in 2004, we had that option to either migrate to Chicago, which my wife and I are both from the North, and that wasn't going to happen. Or I can go out and start looking for a job. But I built a pretty successful freelance career. Just getting clients here and there, working at the midnight, working moonlight, they say. And then I said to my wife, I said, I'm going to make a go at this. I'm going to make a go. And she, first thing came out of her mouth is, make sure you have a solid BNI group. And I kid you not, that's exactly what she said. She said, what BNI group are you going to join?
Yeah.
So it was adamant about determining where we're going to be and how we're going to build this business.
So what was the aha moment for you that, okay, I think this is going to work?
I can assure you it wasn't the first 4 months. It was probably when I started getting what I call the retainers, the clients who are willing to pay that monthly retainer. And again, that was a BNI Jim Wallace, that I found some individuals that are really going to pay me for that retainer. So I can actually start projecting that, okay, in 12 months, this is what we're going to have. And it just made it relaxing, where I not that I still go out and sell it, I do. But again, it's just, you have this somewhat of a comfort knowing that you have these checks coming in.
Yeah.
So, but that was my aha when people or clients started saying, I want to hire you, but I want to pay you each month. I want to pay you. Yeah. And that's where everything changed for me.
Oh, being able to budget's a wonderful thing.
Yes.
Oh, cash flow.
Exactly.
I always love that when people go, I was in a seminar one time, this guy was talking, I have no idea who he was, but he goes, what's the most important thing in, small business? I'm like, cash flow.
Absolutely.
And he goes, no. I'm like, wait, if you can't pay your bills. So,
true.
anyways, I didn't follow him up on LinkedIn or anything like that. He's like, no, you got to have money to pay your bills. Keep your door open. The husband-wife dynamic.
Yes.
How does that work?
It works great, because if anybody's ever dealt with creative people, we struggle a little bit here and there. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. Being creative kind of stinks, because I could sit there and look at a screen for 8 hours and produce nothing. And I'm just sitting there staring at it. And it's a struggle. My wife will come by and say, well, did you ever consider this? And it's like, I didn't think of that. Or when I'm working on a logo and I'm sitting there and I'm over and over again, I'm like, these colors don't work. They're not matching. She'd come by and say, did you try this? So it's nice to have that input from her. But also she's really strong in accounting. So that piece of the puzzle, because most creative people struggle a little bit with numbers, where most accountants obviously are very good at numbers. So she can look at numbers and she can just riddle them off really quick. So that was extremely helpful for me when she came in and she started just doing the budgeting, the accounting for me, and also sales. She does sales too.
So the drive by, "Hey, why don't you try blue?" And she walks away and you're like, "Why didn't I see that?"
Exactly. All the time. It happens more times than not. Or here's
Love you.
yes.
Thanks.
Well, here's the other thing. When I sit there and work on something, I'm like, "Oh, I love this. This is perfect. This is great." She come back to me and say, I don't like it. And then I'll give two concepts. I'll give one to the customer, my concept, and I'll give her her concept.
Yeah.
And I hate to say this, 90% of the time, she's right. Even though if I sit there and I work on it, and I'm like, I love these colors, they work. She'll say, no, they're not, they're too masculine. And your clients they're more feminine.
Okay.
You need to soften it. I'm like, no. And she'll come by and sure enough, 90% of the time, they'll like it. Again, that's the great interaction that we have. And in our field, in the graphic design creative field, you got to have thick skin. Sometimes people might not like something you do, or sometimes you deliver something, you can't be insulted by it. You just keep pushing on and moving forward.
Yeah, and because what you gave them could very well be really good, but their eye just doesn't see it or like it, and has nothing to do with the quality of the work.
And again, that's where you do that education piece, where I have to sit down with that client and say, this is why I chose this direction. This is why I did this. And then I have to start really getting involved with the logo and the idea of how it looks. And then they have that aha moment.
Yeah.
Like, I see now. Well, yes, because sometimes they want all these intricate little line art. I'm like, we put that on an embroider on a shirt, it's never going to show up.
Yeah.
We put that on a billboard, no one's ever going to see it. So you have to kind of educate individuals about what we're delivering.
Yeah, you almost have to send them down 40 or 95 and say, just drive 20 miles, look at every billboard, and then come back.
Yes.
And then we'll talk.
Yes.
And they come back and go, oh, you're right.
Exactly.
I couldn't read all of that one.
Yes. You would be amazed.
Is there a creative gene from your parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents?
Actually, my grandparents.
Did creativity find you?
Well, I'm going to say I was kind of I just drew.
Yeah.
I always drew. It's just funny. I talked to my aunt who owns her own business, and she said, I remember Sean just sitting in the corner and drawing. Other kids are playing baseball. Sean's over there just drawing in a corner on his little sketch pad. And that's what I did. And I'm going to say my grandfather was an artist. He drew. And a couple of my aunts were artists as well, painters.
Oh, very nice.
Yes.
Okay. Did you have the old Etch-a-Sketch, or are you that old?
No, I did have Etch-a-Sketch.
Okay,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, that was a big deal back in the day.
Yes.
Your brother would come by and shake it up, and then you'd hit him with it. And
he'd shake me, actually, because I would hold the Etch-a-Sketch and he'd shake me.
I'm working.
Yes.
I know. So I was on your website, and reviews tell a lot. When somebody, let me back up, in a BNI meeting, when you cannot be there that week, you send a substitute.
Correct.
And you give them your 30-second, 45-second. And a lot of times, the most effective ones I've seen before is when a client is sent and they can stand up without a script and say, this is why you have to call Sean. And they do that. So I always love the words that are used in the reviews and said, oh, call Sean, he's the best. Although you did get an A with 4 pluses from one of them. But the words that I kept seeing were customer focus, creativity, and listening.
Yes.
And you've alluded to the listening part of it earlier, because you've got to not only listen, and then, as you said, then you have to explain the whys to them.
Correct. Yes.
All right. So that's the beauty. So on the reviews, and I don't know if you've been on there in a while, but that was a consistent theme, which is, of course, in the customer focus, because a lot of times people will go, here, take it or leave it. And
that's correct.
Not quite working for us. Aaron Newton, who you talked about earlier with Noose Natural Cleaning.
Noose Natural Cleaning, yes.
Yeah. In his review, he wrote that there was a trade show or an event they had, and the night before you saw an error in one of the banners. Now, he did not say if you had printed the banner, but he said you saw the error in the banner and took care of reprinting that and had them ready for them.
And delivered it to his event, too.
Yes. Yeah. So how did that come about? When did you see it? How quick did it take you to get the banner turned around?
Well, again, I'm going to use my wife as an example. She came by and she goes, there's a spelling error in there. And it's like, there's a spelling error. Now, again, the power of BNI. The person who printed that was one of our BNI members. Okay. So they turned around, because of the relationship I have with that member. Literally, the next day they produced it for me. And it was a pull-up banner. And again, they produced it. And if I remember correctly, that was a Friday. It was a Friday morning. Friday morning, my wife caught the mistake. And I sent the files. I redid the files, fixed the mistake, sent it to the printer. It was later on that Friday evening, I picked up that banner. And then I delivered it Saturday.
One now, because you and your wife are on the creative side of the world, when you go to restaurants, whatever, do you are you looking at everything?
Yes, she actually gets upset. I'll sit there and say, "This typography looks weird," or "Why do they have this like this?" Especially menus. I
Yeah.
look at a lot of
Oh, yeah.
menus
Oh, yes.
and I question it because it's just like I'm like, "This is kinda hard to read."
Mhm.
It's not what I call it's not user friendly. It's not
Yeah.
at all. So, I do look at it, and then my wife says, "Well, you need to talk to the owner." And it's like, I
Mhm.
should." And then I put it in my 30-second speech in BNI. I'll sit there and say, "Hey, do you know such and such at this restaurant? Because I would love an
Yes. Yeah.
introduction." So that's how that whole league goes in.
Mhm. And did she tell you at one point, "Just order the lasagna.
Correct,
Let's
yes.
move on?"
Yes, yes. She'll see me take pictures of billboards and say, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "This is very interesting."
Yeah.
Pulling out magazine ads. I
Yeah.
do a lot of that, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yes.
And you have to
Yes,
because that tells you what doesn't work. Because if it doesn't
correct.
work for your
Yeah.
eye, chances are, I'm not gonna give it to a client.
And then there are some situations where I'm like, "Wow, that's really cool. I
Yeah.
wanna take that, and I can probably do something with it." But again, I also take pictures of things that I really like as well.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. And they're everywhere you could take pictures
correct.
driving around town. So one of the best ways to activate your BNI membership is to track not only the referrals you get, but how much money you're bringing in. And any small business owner should be
Correct.
tracking where all their money's coming from. So, wow, I've been advertising with XYZ for 3 years. Does it work? I don't know, but they're really nice people. So percentage wise, over the last year or 2 years or whatever, what is BNI meant to the bottom line for Think Designs?
I'm gonna say about 80% of our revenue comes from BNI.
Oh
Yeah,
my.
I can clearly say that very confidently, I should say, that 80% of our revenue has come from BNI. And the 20% is from probably car drug and a lot of those executives, but
Yeah.
80% is BNI.
And I will tell people that Sean and his wife just got back from European vacation. So if you want to do the quick math on how to grow a business, you should join BNI.
Yes.
Um, what was I going to ask following that? Oh, are you able to visit other chapters? Because there's not one of you in every chapter.
That's correct. So I actually do a little research when I visit a chapter. Either A, someone asked me to be a sub, or B, I just want to visit a chapter because they might have a visitor's day.
Mhm.
So I kind of look at it and determine who those members are. And yes, to answer your question, I can visit any chapter twice in a
Right.
6-month period.
Do you get a chance to visit many though?
I try to make it a point to visit at least 2, maybe even 4 every 6 months. I try to at least get out
Okay.
there to visit a chapter.
Yeah.
Yes,
And then other networking events you go to, do you do much chamber stuff
I
or
do. I go to the Holly
okay,
Springs Chamber.
right?
And then I also belong to what I call my creative soul is AIGA, which is a bunch of designers that we all talk shop. So it's not more about business cards and referrals. It's all about, hey, I had this trouble with this client. He didn't like this color. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like something like that where we can bounce ideas off each other and we can just kind of be a little bit more impactful with creativity, what the industry is doing today, what's
Yeah.
going on. So again, it's more of an idea. Just like I said, I call it for my soul.
Yeah. Those are your people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't wear the tie either when I go to those. Because I'm the only person who doesn't have a tattoo. Because I have to take the tie off and I have to unbutton the shirt,
There you
wear
go.
some jeans.
So what kind of things are changing in the industry these days versus even you could even go in your industry, you can go back a year, can't you?
Well, I see the biggest change is app
Yeah.
development.
Yeah.
And I obviously the last couple of years, last 5 years was responsive design. Everybody's going to responsive design. That
What is
means
that?
responsive. That's a great question. So responsive means how your website's going to respond on a device it's on. For example, iPhone. How's your website going to look on an iPhone? How's it going to look on a
Okay.
tablet? How's it going to look on
Yeah.
a TV? We talked about that earlier. I've seen that change in the last 5 years. And Google keeps changing. I mean, Google's made it, I think maybe 4 years ago or 3 years ago, saying that if your site's not responsive, Google's going to say you really don't care that much about your site, and we're really not going to pay that much attention to it.
Mhm.
Now the big thing is that locking feature. So I
Yeah.
see that change. Plus also the introduction of design with flat design. A lot of people don't like gradients anymore. They like flat design. Your Instagram, not your Instagram, your infographics are becoming very popular. Something very quick and precise. I see that industry changing more than anything. And also the introduction to apps. Apps are
Yeah.
becoming a big thing for a lot of individuals. And a lot of my clients ask, do I need an app?
I was just gonna ask
And
that
I was going to
question.
say,
Yep.
it all depends on your business. I mean, it really truly depends on your business. And I would sit there and say that you don't need an app or you do need an app. So again,
What kind of app, what kind of client of yours, not asking specifics, but what kind of client would want their own app?
clients that maybe have some sort of event going on, they do a lot of events,
Okay.
will be a great introduction to an app. Um, some that I'm gonna go to the events. That's probably the one that comes to
Okay.
mind, top mind right now.
Okay. Yeah, that would make because I mean, yeah, there's an app for
Correct.
everything. I think you could comfortably say that,
Yes.
right?
Now, again, if your services or your products are once a year, I don't know if an app's going to be it because let's be honest here, everybody keeps loading more and more apps on their phones,
Yeah.
and your phones can only handle so much memory. So you have to take in consideration: do I really need this app anymore for the? I don't. Again, nothing's coming to mind, but
Yeah.
in some situations, I try to tell my customers, an app's really not for you. I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I wouldn't do it.
Do you send them to look at their competitor stuff?
Absolutely. And I actually even pull up their competitor and I'll say, this is what your competitor is doing. And I think we should consider doing something like this, especially like call to actions, things of that nature. Yes.
And how many of them will have researched or even care who or
Eh,
if they have a competitor?
they're gonna do the research. I mean, I think anybody who owns a small business, you need to really, really research your competition out there. Um, but how many? I'm gonna say probably 70 to 80% will actually have an idea what the competition's doing.
Okay.
And if not, I'm gonna sit down in that kickoff I mentioned earlier to say, this is what your competition's doing. We should consider doing something
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah.
So
So, as a sitting president of your chapter, RD16, Research Triangle Professionals, Friday mornings, 9:15 at North Carolina Wesleyan Aspire. If you have this Friday morning open, please go out, visit Sean and everybody there. So, as president, what kind of things are you looking to do? Because new terms just started there
correct.
for a year. So, what kind of things are you looking to do to help grow your chapter or dig deeper into quality of referrals and things like that to help everybody's business grow?
The big thing, which our group does very well, and it's always done very well, is power teams. Power teams are a great way to do passing referrals.
Mhm.
I mean, the meeting's a great way, but at the end of the day, you get that
And
5 minute.
talk about a power team.
I'm sorry, yeah, I
Go
would
tell
say,
everybody what
yeah,
it is because
okay, yeah, I
Amnon
apologize. You're
always
right.
catches me.
So
I'm going to
yes,
pass it
so
on.
no, a power team is your sphere of individuals. For example, I belong to B2B. That's business to
Mhm.
business. So that we have a business to business power team. I don't know how many groups have that, but we actually have a specific power team
Not many have
related,
one. Yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
to business to business. So we meet once a month. We sit around, we give each other 5 minutes, and during that 5 minute presentation, we ask who we're looking for, changes in businesses. But it's not all about just growing your bottom line too. It's all about I'm having this issue. Do you have any recommendations? So it's a
Yeah.
lot of bouncing off ideas. Like for me, I talked about growing my business and inquiring more staff. At what point do you do this? And again, I got some great positive feedback regarding it. So again, the power teams are more of a smaller version of a group, but it's only for members. We sit around and we talk about businesses, we talk about referrals, we talk about referrals that we're looking for. We have one for B2B, we have one for a real estate, and we have
Yeah.
one for our personal services.
And a lot of times it turns in almost to a mastermind group, doesn't it?
That's
Yeah.
exactly what it turns into. Yes.
So who are the seats on your B2B? I know you mentioned a business attorney.
Well, no, we're in the process of looking for a business
Okay,
attorney.
so
Our
if you're a
one,
business attorney,
yes,
folks, come on out.
yes. We have IT.
Okay.
One, we actually have a commercial insurance.
Mhm.
We have a commercial real estate agent. We have the Holly Springs Chamber of Commerce, which is a good one as well. We have a sign printer. We have a actual print printer. So you have to know the difference. There's printers out there that actually print Speed Pro that actually print on car wraps.
Yeah.
Sabrina's our member there and does the big billboard signs. And then we have some members that actually print on paper, which is Durwood.
Yeah.
So we have these different
Durwood's a hoot.
Durwood Lassiter, Joseph C. Woodward.
Yeah.
So again, we have these individuals that we sit down and we talk about business. So honestly, we have about, wish I can remember, maybe 8 or 9
Yeah.
people in commercial. I mean, business to business.
And what's your goal for that group for the next either 6 months or 12 months?
I like to see some of these big seats being filled. Like payroll's another one.
Yeah.
I love to see payroll in our group. The commercial attorneys, the business attorney
Mhm.
will be another individual that I like to see. So again, I like to get some more quality seats filled in our group. Not to say that they're unquality seats,
Yeah.
but I just like to see some of those seats filled.
And as president, so all the power teams in general,
Mhm.
how do you focus on visitors and growth that way for the chapter? What are some things you're looking to do?
Well, obviously, visitors, they always help.
Yeah.
And then also just, I'm going to go back to the consistency again. It's just going over and over again, telling the individuals we're looking for these seats to be filled and letting the members know it. Plus, we have what's called a stack day on our BNI group. A stack day means at the end of the month, each month, I put on the agenda, invite all the electricians. Because
Yes.
being the president, it's not just about business to business, it's all about business to consumer
Mhm.
as well and personal services. So I try to break it up. So at the end of each month, I say, the last Friday of each month, let's get some electricians in here. Let's get some plumbers in here. Invite every plumber you know. Invite every security person you may know. So again, we try to do that with the stack days. So the two things are stack days. I'm sorry, three stack days, going over and over again, reiterating the fact that we're looking for the seat, and then a visitor's day.
Yeah.
Are the three big ones.
Yeah, and the visitor's day with follow-up is because you want to corner them.
Yes.
I tell all my other chapters that look at this as the person just walked in your room is a 5-star recruit.
Correct.
And there's 10 other BNI chapters that want them.
Yes.
How would you treat them knowing they're a 5-star recruit?
Are you asking me that question? Or
Yeah. Or yeah. I mean, what kind of follow-up do you guys do on visitors?
So the thing about it, Visitors Day, at least anybody who visits our group, we always plug them into BNI Connect. That's a big thing for us to make sure we put that, because I'm in marketing. So I want to make sure I capture that data. So I take your email, your name, your phone number, and I plug that in the BNI Connect. And then eventually, as we move forward, if we're having that stack day, we can always go back. We can export export an Excel spreadsheet, and I can actually sit there and say, here's all the plumbers that visited our group. Here's all electricians. So when we have those stack days, these people visited our group. They know our group. They know the way we operate. They know our numbers. So it's a very easy way for me to go back in and say, visit our group. That's one way that I do it. And then another way would be just to do the visitors day, is take that entire list of individuals and then span them out. But you also asked about if you're a seat that we need, for example, if you're like a payroll, because we're dying for payroll, you visit our group, you're going to get touched by the individual from the BNI Connect. And then I'm going to assign my visitor team, which is now Sabrina from Speed Pro. I asked her to come in and just send a personalized email to them.
Yeah.
And then we can also follow up with a phone call as well. And also when you go to BNI Connect and you actually come to our group and you actually kind of, what's it called? You invite yourself on the BNI, on the website, always call that person prior to them coming on our Friday. Just to reach out to them, say, hey, here's the way our group meets. So again, we try to touch them at least twice, if not 3 times, to try to capture that lead.
Yeah, and when you know there are other or if they're actively looking for BNI, a chapter to join, you want to show them some love.
Absolutely.
And say, hey, you want to, this is the only place for you to be is Friday mornings. And
correct.
Yeah. So we touched about this earlier in the intro about about his spouse. I think a lot of you people know this. I'm glad you didn't say this about something nobody knows about you. But just a few years ago, Sean won a Best in Show ribbon at the Raleigh Street Painting Festival.
Correct.
Would you like to tell everybody what your design was, and
Absolutely.
Was it effective?
It was very effective. It was very effective. The Raleigh Street Painting Festival is done by SparkCon. SparkCon actually, around October, around this time, they actually asked a group of artists to come down and they get a 4x4 or 8x8 block. And you get to take some chalk and you draw an illustration. I've done it about 4 times. I've won twice, but I won big time. We're going to go with this.
Yes, you did.
So this time I had this all planned out. So this time was in September. I actually told one of my wife's friends, get my wife out of the house for a couple hours. I told my wife I had a hard drug event up in Asheville. So I stayed at a friend's house, and on a Friday night, I went down and I had a 4x4 foot block that was sponsored by Car Drug. They knew everything too. And I drew an elephant. My wife loves elephants. So I drew this elephant. And again, there's probably 80 other artists drawing on these blocks.
It's cool stuff.
Yeah. It was cool. So I drew this elephant. And on the elephant, I drew a diamond ring on his nose. And then I drew a bubble, just a little cartoon bubble. And this is all illustration, so it's more cartoonish. And I left the bubble empty. But here's a funny thing that it wasn't on the Facebook is I had to carry. Let me go back. So on this bubble, I won't tell you about the fanny pack yet, but on this bubble, because there's a story right there.
There's never a good story with the fanny pack.
No, but on this bubble, I waited till about 5:00 on Saturday when I knew my friend's wife and my friend's wife and my wife
gotcha.
would go down to Raleigh, because she told my wife at the time, or my girlfriend at the time, Sandy, that I have to go downtown Raleigh. Her husband she needs to pick up something for her husband. So as my wife comes walking down in the street, now keep in mind, they just got back from a play. So you have to make sure she's wearing a dress, because she had to be all kind of dressed up, because if she would have came out in some sweatpants, that would have been bad news bears. So she comes strolling along and she told my friend, she goes, wow, Sean always participates in here. Too bad he's in Asheville at an event, because he really likes to draw on these sidewalks. And her name was Lillian. And she goes, Lillian goes, oh, well, let's just go. We got to go to this building. I told specifically Lillian, I'm going to be right here. So when my wife came walking past, she looked down. And prior to that, I wrote on the bubble, and let me go back here. Prior to that, her getting down, like an hour prior to her getting down, I wrote on the bubble, Sandy, will you marry me?
Nice.
So,
nice.
Yes. So prior to that, an hour prior to that, and the reason why I waited an hour, because I didn't want 100 people to sit around. And the thing about it, there was a news crew. The news crew was already there waiting. So I already built an audience. Yeah. Yes, I already built it. I know, right?
Branding. Look at you already built
exactly. So I already had this audience waiting because I said 6 o'clock. I will be at 6 o'clock. I'm going to do this. So at 6 o'clock, there was this whole crowd of people waiting. So my wife comes by, and my wife does not like to be center of attention. She hates it. So she comes walking up, and all of a sudden, you could just see, and then I was wearing a suit at the time. So I jumped behind, I was literally behind this bush. I had to go take a shower because I was covered in chalk. So I jumped behind a bush in a suit, and I got on one knee and I proposed for her. So, and all these cameras were going. So it was kind of fun. So that was that moment. And then I found that the next day I won Best in Show.
Very nice.
So and it's kind of cool because anybody who's in SparkCom to this day still remembers that specific event, because I took my capability of drawing and I incorporated it into a proposal.
Too funny. Yes. Is there a picture of the drawing and everything?
Absolutely. You go to my Facebook, you could see it there.
What a great story for her to tell.
Yes.
How did your husband propose to you?
Well, it's funny because all my neighbors are like, Sean, you're making us look bad. You're making us look bad. I'm like, guys, it was just kind of easy. But the fanny pack situation is, I'm there on Friday night in downtown Raleigh, like 11 o'clock. I have the ring stuck in my fanny pack.
Oh.
Because I wasn't staying in any one place, and I don't want to lose this ring. So I'm sitting around Raleigh on a fanny pack drawing. And I don't like fanny packs. I'm drawing this
as well. You should,
yes, this illustration with this fanny pack with the diamond ring in it. So yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So I like the confidence. You knew she was going to say yes.
No, that would have been bad if she said no. That would have been really bad.
Just say yes right now. You can say no later.
Yes.
All right. So coming up towards the end of the show here, again, middle of October, 2018. So the end of 2019, where do you see another good year? Where do you see Think Designs?
I like to see some more permanent positions, like more sales rep.
Okay.
More than anything, a sales rep coming on board and literally going out and joining a BNI group and soliciting Think Designs more than anything. So I'd like to actually get another seat in BNI.
Yeah. Good deal. Designs. We wish you luck with that. And our guest today, Sean McClafferty with Think Designs. If you need any help on your website, any branding, new logos, anything, go to Think Designs and check Sean out. You can see all the reviews. You've heard the stories about the people passing in business. 80% of his bottom line is due to BNI. We just love for you to come out and visit a chapter, whether it's you or someone you know trying to start a small business, grow a small business. And next week, we're going to hear from the man himself, the executive director of Triangle BNI, Steve Hand. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks for joining us today.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.